Welcome back to the Rules of Engagement Developing Fundamentals. Before we get into some more fundamentals, let's talk about that promo you just saw, Full Sail University. Go to www.fullsail.edu/MLG. Find out more information about a lot of great programs you can do. You can get some experience in 3D animation, graphic design, video production, there's audio engineering, a ton of different programs that are all really, really valuable skill sets. You can use them in developing games like Starcraft. You want to make this mothership here? That's graphic design, right? You want to make it use the vortex and spin around? That's animation, right? It's video production. All that stuff is useful for Blizzard, for Riot. Everyone who makes these games needs people with the skill set. Fullsail.edu is one of the best ways to get that skill set. Even if you want to get involved in esports, you want to work with MLG. We have several employees from Full Sail. We have a full-time worker who does all our graphics work. We have an intern audio engineer, another intern doing 3D animation. So a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool opportunities. It's fun work. It's work, right? You gotta get there, get educated, take a couple of years out of your life. Then once you have the knowledge, you can go throw it in there and be a part of what makes all this happen, both on the game design side and of course the show development side as well from our point of view. So if you want more information, www.fullsail.edu/MLG. If you don't want to get more education, but you do want to have a really cool room, what you should do is you should go to facebook.com/MLGpro. Then you can scroll down here, click on the Dr. Pepper Ultimate Gaming Room icon, and all of a sudden you can see there's only a few minutes out of your day. Fill out this contest. You can win your dream gaming room. They'll set it up really nice. All the consoles, all the PC games, the TV to play your console games on. Nice setup for your PC. The couches to play them on. The wallpaper. Your room is going to be set up so sweet you'll never want to leave it. Don't tell your parents you're filling this out because they might not want it. What you do, here's what you do. You go to fullsail.edu, fill that out. Tell your parents about that one. And then when your ultimate dream gaming room, or if you're in college, game or college room set up nice, go to this one to keep that one to yourself and get your nice sweet room where you can sit back, play games in an awesome environment all day long. It's only a few minutes out of your day, and you know what? If you win, you'll be very, very thankful for that opportunity. Let's get back into our situation here in the game. And now what we're going to talk about is our last segment. The last segment is going to be basically how to make your timings very, very strong and powerful. So we talked a little bit about how the army, you want to invest in economy, and then a few minutes before your timing attack, throw that into production buildings. Then you can just crank out a lot of units, try to hit your timing before your opponent can get more production than you. And the reason why this might happen is because if you're investing in production buildings and your opponent invests in economy, if you wait too long, their economy will then turn into more production buildings than you have and more units, and you'll be outnumbered. So there's a sweet spot of a couple minutes after you really gear up for production that you want to launch your invasion. So go ahead and make sure you do that. Now, in a real game, we're going to jump into, we're going to talk a little about a few of the more factors that come into this. So when you're moving out at 9 minutes, right? I talked about he wanted to attack here because his building's finished and his upgrade's finished, so he had greater production. And the other cool thing is, look at what happened. Because I didn't invest in those upgrades or all this tech stuff that he's now investing in, I'm just getting a whole bunch of production buildings of my own, right? A lot more gateways. There's another one. There's 3 being produced here. There's one more somewhere. Wherever he is, he's somewhere out there. So with all these gateways being produced, if he waits too long, in fact, if he waits even 30 more seconds, I'll have massively larger army. Right now, they look at the army type, I have a slightly larger army, and that's just because I've invested in powering army as well. So his time attack wasn't geared up against the perfect strategy just because I haven't been investing in army as well. But his units will be more cost efficient because he has that stim and combat shield. So even though my army size is slightly larger than his, it's still a decent timing. As you go forward here, we're just going to see how that works out. I'm able to defend it just by using a lot of weapons. And then as we come out from here, all of a sudden, after this battle, let's think about the situation, right? Right after this ends. So, at this point, 10 minutes in the game, my production is finished, right? So I have 7 different warp gates finishing up. Let's look at what he has. He has, a 4th and a 5th barracks finishing up, a starport on the way. So ideally, I have all my production done, Barracks without tech labs are not great at producing units. They can only produce 1 Marine every 25 seconds, whereas the Warp Gate can produce the unit 2 to 4 times the cost of the Marine in about 30 seconds. So Barracks really need an add-on, either Tech Lab or Reactor, to match Warp Gate production. So right now, he's basically got the equivalent of 4 Warp Gates, and then if he gets his Starport running, he'll be up much more than that. Or if he gets these add-ons, right? Right now he's at 4, but once his Starport finishes, gets the add-on. Once he gets add-ons here, he could be at the equivalent of 7 gateways, maybe. So I want to hit this timing before he can really get these buildings set up, which is going to take him about another minute. So if you notice here, I'm just going to warp in a few more units. And then as soon as I get enough units, I want to hit right now. I don't want to wait too long because, like I said, at 10 minutes, I said it had about another minute before it kicks in too strong. So I want to be knocking his door by 11 minutes. So I want to gear up here. Now, one thing I'm going to do, though, is I want to wait for this +2 upgrade. Now, this +2 upgrade is slightly mistimed. Ideally, that should be finishing now. There are 10 seconds from now, ideally. It's 30 seconds delay. And this is important because every minute you have to delay your timing attack for an upgrade like that, that's a minute where his production is, look at this. As soon as this reactor kicks in, he'll have almost caught up in production because now he's got the Starport reactor at Medivacs. He's got a tech lab here. He still is building this reactor, but once that finishes, I'm going to be out of time. Or I'm going to be on a much thinner timer. So I want to do some serious damage before that can finish. Ideally, this upgrade would have been done, and I could be launching my attack right about now at the 11:15 mark. Unfortunately, I got to wait another few seconds here. Luckily for me, I still have the 8 warp gates, whereas he's only producing off, a few buildings right now. But the time is very, very short. I want to attack before his opponent's production catches up to mine. And so I can attack here, and I can win just by overwhelming his production, superior upgrades, etc., right? So as we get through this battle, one thing I want to talk about is basically the way that the whole production scheme works in a game. So let's say you have player A. They're whatever race they are, they're investing. Actually, before I do this, let me jump back and mention one more thing in this game. So if you notice, the other thing is the reason why his 4th and 5th gateway were slower than my 8 warp gates. You're like, how come you can build 8 warp gates when he only has 5 gateways? I mean, it's not because I'm magically 3 times better at macro or Protoss in the balance. It's because he built this command center here, right? So he invested in extra economy. And if someone invests in extra economy, that means they have greater future production than you do. But the current production is lower. So if you look at the way the army is going to develop, it's going to be more of a curve that's something like this, right? Their army is going to develop here, and it's going to keep going up on a curve like that. Because as they get more and more production, their army development rate is going to get faster and faster and faster. The slope of the line is going to increase, maybe like an x² or something. But let's say you start with the same production, you invest more in production earlier but less in economy, you're going to have a similar line, except yours is going to be at a lesser steep angle, right? So it's going to be more like this, and then if you notice, theirs is going to keep... Yours will be ahead earlier on because you take off sooner because you invested in those warp gates instead of the command center. But over time, their angle in which they increase their army is higher because they have that more economy. So over time, they'll catch you and they'll pass you up, right? And you basically want to try to maximize your army advantage over your opponent. So you want to hit the difference between the lines, that area. That's going to be the extra units you have over your opponent because that's the time in which you had extra production. So you want to attack when this area right here is as big as it can be. And that area is going to be right at the spot where the lines intersect, right? So that's basically that moment when you want to attack is the exact moment when you've had a production advantage over your opponent for some time, right? This time over here, you've had that production advantage. But you want to do it right when they catch up to yours. So you want to have the production advantage for as long as possible. So let me erase that a little bit there. But you want to attack before or right as their production catches up. Now you could say, why don't you attack like in this line here? Well, if you attack right there, you only have this much extra units. If you attack right when they catch up, you have the most extra units possible. So that's the ideal time to attack. And then what you want to do is you want to try, let's say your attack time, you want to get some key upgrades to boost your army efficiency. You want to make sure those upgrades finish right at that moment when you can attack. So if you jump into the game, I actually mentioned how I may have done my attack a tiny bit late. But if we notice this, let's actually rewind this back just a few seconds. when he catches up, it's probably right when this reactor finishes. So I actually want to attack basically before these 2 Marines come out of their production shell, right? So attacking right now is actually not bad. If you look at the army size, do you see how much larger my army value is over his, right? I'm at 1,000 more minerals. So basically, he's at 2,500 resources. I'm at 3,500 resources total. So I'm like, was that 40% more, something like that? More army than him. But longer I wait, all of a sudden we can look at his production. 3 Marauders, 2 Marines, and 2 medevacs at a time is an immense amount of army value in production. This is the point when, as time goes on, he'll catch up and surpass me. Not to mention, he's still investing in upgrades and more economy even on top of that. So, the longer I wait, we be at that point back in the graph where, let me actually redraw that. Sorry, guys. I'd be at the point in the graph where, you know, if I wait too long, oops, let me get a different color here. If I wait too long, I'd be at that point where, I'd be at this point where all of a sudden, he's growing more army than I am. That's not where you want to be at. You don't want to be in this zone. You basically want to go here, and then you want to kill them, right? This is where you should kill them. Kill them. Because if you wait too long, your green line gets weaker, the red line gets stronger, and all of a sudden the game sways back into their advantage the longer that goes on. So you want to try to avoid that for as long as possible. So as you jump back in the game, you can see that works out. Is that even though at first, you know, he's got a lot of SCVs in front, he's got a lot of bunkers, I still have to attack now because if I wait for him to get 6 medevacs, more units, my army loses almost all its value. And the great thing about this is even though I can't quite break him initially, all I have to do is trade at a decent amount, and I still have good production value, right? And meanwhile, his medevacs run out of energy. I'm kind of just basically burning him out of energy this battle and relying on my amount of production to overwhelm his basically strained economy. We can see here what's happened is his economy is faster than his production. So there's one easy misconception that a lot of people can make here. I mean, he lost. Obviously, he didn't play perfect this game. There were mistakes made. He overinvested into economy, given what I did. But we can see at the end of the game, he has 1,000 minerals and 300 gas. Now, if he was Protoss and his warp gate cycle is about to come up, like you'll notice for me, I'll get a whole bunch of resources right before I warp in units, just because that's the way Protoss warp-ins work. But with Terran, he has more than enough to pay for a full cycle of units, and his current cycle hasn't even finished yet, right? So he made some macro errors. But the thing is here, given his build, that money could not have been spent into units in any case. Ideally, if he was macro mode, it would have gone to more barracks. And then if there were more barracks, of course, a minute down the road, I'd be in trouble. But currently, it wouldn't actually affect the current situation. So it's at one of those points where he's got more money than me, but he hasn't been able to yet put into production. That's when you want to hit those perfect timing attacks before they can utilize any economic advantage to put in production. Now, on the flip side, if you're someone and you can tell your opponent's got more production than you, but you can assume you've macroed as well as them, that means you should have more economy or more tech. That means time's on your side, so you should play defensively, not go for the attack. If you scout your opponent and you can tell they've got an extra more economy than you, and you haven't been teching too greedily, that means you should have more units or more production. You need to hit your timing attack accordingly. So wraps up this section on timing attacks. If you have any questions, please feel free to tweet me at axslav. As after we take a short break, we'll go on to our question and answer section.